Hello my sweeties and welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know me, my name is Celise and thank you for joining my spooky little family. In today's video, we are talking about 8 horror/thriller films you should be watching right now on TUBI. Let's get into the video. Okay, so I made sure to say at the beginning of the video that in today's list, we have horror and thriller films here. Actually, one of them is entirely like a erotic-ish thriller, so it's not a horror movie. So before you're like really like getting excited to go in my comments and like attack me and be like, oh my god, half of these are not horror, maybe listen. And in today's list, we have a really good variety of films. I specifically, you know how I am. I love to curate the list and give as much variety as possible because I do know that a lot of you baddies all have different tastes. I know I've got my Giallo baddies and I've got my early 2000s baddies and I of course have my baddies that are into the stalker films. So we are going to be talking about a good majority of movies. So without further ado, let's get into number 8. At number 8, I have an older film that is from 1947, and it is starring Joan Crawford, and it is directed by Curtis Bernhardt. It is called Possessed. This has to be on this list. This is the slowest movie. So if you are not into a slow burn, if you are not into a mystery, you may not like this movie. But if you are here and you are a queen that likes some Joan Crawford, you like some old black and white films, you do love a good mystery, then you're in luck. This film follows a woman who, after being found wandering the streets of Los Angeles, ends up telling a doctor the complex story of how she wound up there. Now, this film is really funny because the storytelling is almost like a Giallo. It's very ridiculous in itself and everything about it is very theatrical and extra. Obviously, any of these films from this time that had Joan Crawford were very theatrical and dramatic. But that's part of the charm and that's why I like them so much. I think with this film specifically, I think Joan Crawford really holds her own and she plays a really interesting character that honestly, I kind of found to be pretty relatable. I do think that there's a lot in the movie that kind of gets confusing, but there's so much tea. There's so much tea that unravels throughout this movie that I do think it's worth the watch. Also, not to mention, Joan Crawford with a little gun in a fur coat is the vibe. It's always the vibe. It's my vibe. I don't know about you, but that's how I want to go. Now at number 7, we have one that I just recently watched, actually, from 1971, directed by Daniel Mann, and that is Willard. This film is... I actually love this movie. I'm just gonna say right off the bat, this movie radiates a comfort vibe. I don't know what it is. There's something very comforting about this movie and I just love it. It's absolutely silly. It's a little bit sad though. This film follows Willard, who is a social misfit and is made fun of by his coworkers and squeezed out of the company started by his deceased father by his boss. His only friends are a couple of rats he raised at home, Ben and Socrates. However, when one of them is killed at work, he goes on a rampage using his rats to attack those who have been tormenting him. It's a movie with lots of really cute rats. What do you want me to say? I just love rats. I love little ratties. They're so cute and sweet. Willard is actually really fun. I do love the performances from Bruce Davison, and of course we have the queen. We have Bride of Frankenstein herself playing the mother, Elsa Lanchester. She's great, of course. And everybody is pretty good. They hold their own. This movie ultimately is all about Willard and these rats, and the rats are so good. They are such good little actors. They're so smart. They're doing things. They're doing tricks and stuff. It's super sweet. I do really like this movie, and Of course, you know what you're getting into when you see that it's a movie about a guy and some rats. It's gonna be ridiculous, but I do promise that it is worth it. This is one that I think surprises you, because at first it feels like it might be a snooze fest, but it does catch its stride, and when it does, I think it's really fun. Though I will admit, there are some moments with Willard that specifically feel confusing. Towards the end of the movie, you're kind of confused by the character's motivations, but there is another film called Ben that is a follow-up to Willard, and it is about Ben the Rat. And I haven't seen that yet, so I feel like I need to see that to really figure out exactly what my feelings are for Willard, but Willard was such a great time, and I think you need to watch it, especially if you love rats like me. Okay, baddies, and now at number 6, we have a film that I recently just found out about. I actually found a copy of this film at the dollar store, so I love that for me. Cost me $1, great. Though I will say, a funny little story, I popped it in to watch it, and it kept on skipping, so I guess there's a reason why it was at the dollar store. So at number 6, we have, from 2004, directed by Paul McGugan, this is Wicker Park. This film I was drawn to immediately because it stars Josh Hartnett, and it also stars Matthew Willard and Rose Byrne. No one ever talks about this movie. I never heard of this movie until I randomly found it at the dollar store. Wicker Park follows Matthew, a young advertising executive in Chicago who puts his life and a business trip to China on hold when he thinks he sees Lisa, the love of his life, who left him without a word 2 years earlier, walking out of a restaurant one day. This movie pleasantly surprised me. I was immediately on board when I saw that it starred some kings and queens, you know, love that. But I also was on board because it said it was an erotic thriller. If you know me, baddies, if you have been a part of the channel, if you've been a Spooky Little Fam member, if you've been here, you know how much I love erotic thrillers. Love a little horny horror movie, love a little horny movie, love that for me. It's a great time. This movie does not disappoint in that factor. It is definitely really crazy, and it definitely is a thriller. There are a lot of twists and turns in this movie, and I can't believe more people don't talk about it. Josh Hartnett gives a great performance, like a really moving performance. And Matthew Willard is, of course, great. He plays the role great. He's kind of an asshole, but, you know, he just does it so well. It's so hard not to like Matthew Willard. Rose Byrne, seeing Rose Byrne in this role was really fun. I haven't seen her really play that kind of role before, so it was really fun to see a younger Rose Byrne take on such an intense role at this time. I do think that this one might be a little bit too twisty, might be a little bit too ridiculous for some people. I could definitely see how people don't understand the tone of this movie. There's a lot of editing and crazy shots that you're kind of like, whoa, that was insane. But I watched Giallo. So if you're looking for a twisty erotic thriller, there you have it. Now moving on to number 5, we have a Giallo. I know, amazing. We have A Short Night of Glass Dolls. This film I actually put on my Giallo January watchlist challenge. So if you watched it in Giallo January, you can skip this suggestion. This one is directed by Aldo Lado, and it is from 1971, and it is starring a Giallo king, Gene Sorel. This film follows an American journalist in Prague who searches for his girlfriend who has suddenly disappeared. Now, this Giallo pleasantly surprised me. This is not at all like other Gialli. It's actually not your quintessential Giallo where there's a fashionable killer and the black gloves and all that. This is not that kind of Giallo. This is more of a psychological giallo, and I think that's what makes it so interesting. I don't want to spoil it because it's really a strange one, but honestly, it's a lot of fun, and you should all check it out because I do love giving you guys like a quintessential giallo, but I feel like these jolly that not many people cover are the ones that we really should be watching. I feel like the ending as well really bumped it up for me. The ending is pretty gag worthy. So if you want a giallo that is definitely on the slower end but has a great reveal at the end, you definitely want to check out Short Night of Glass Dolls. At number 4, I have Dead Man's Curve from 1998, directed by Dan Rosen. This film follows 2 roommates who plan to kill a third to take advantage of college policy, giving a 4.0 grade to a suicide's roommates. This film is very wild. I love this one because it really has that late 90s gritty charm to it. And of course, there's always a little bit of a charm factor with anything that Matthew Lillard was in at this time. And this one's a fun little twisty one as well. I do love giving you guys like some good twisty little movies. I do think there's issues with it because there were some moments where I was like, that's kind of ridiculous. But ultimately, I think it's a really underrated one that I don't hear too many people speak about as well. And I do think if you're a fan of Matthew Lillard and you're trying to watch more of his films or, you know, delve deeper into his filmography, this is one that may have, you know, flew under the radar. So you should definitely check it out. It being on TUBI is a bonus because you can watch it for free. And now we're getting to my favorites here on the list. At number 3, we have one that I am very excited to tell you guys to watch. At number 3, we have They Look Like People, directed by Perry Blackshear, and this film is from 2015. This film follows Wyatt, who flees to New York City after suspecting that people are transforming into malevolent shapeshifters, and he wants to seek out his estranged childhood friend, Christian. This is definitely a film that I would say you may want to watch with a friend. This is one that I do think is a very sad, lonely watch, but I do think towards the end of the movie, it has a sense of hope, and I feel like the film is heavy. It, of course, speaks about things like mental illness, and it speaks about friendships and having a good support system and people that believe you. And I really needed this movie this year, so I'm really happy I found it. I'm even happier it's on TUBI because I really do want all of you to watch it. The cast is great, the writing is great. Maybe one of my favorite watches this year. I can't believe I didn't hear about it when it got released, but I wanted to share it with all of you because it's a good one. And now, as we're moving on to something way less sad than that, at number 2, I have a film that I just recently watched that was very action-packed, anxiety-inducing, and just an absolute ride. If you want a film that is going to have you holding your breath for the entire runtime, you want to watch Midnight. This film is from 2021 and it is directed by Kwon Oh-seung, and I loved it. This film follows a serial killer who ruthlessly hunts down a deaf woman through the streets of South Korea after she witnesses his brutal crime. This movie had me gagged the whole time. This is one that I would say is a great one to watch with your friends. It will have you holding your breath. We have a great performance from our lead, and we have a great performance from Wi Ha-jun so good, so good. He is so great at bringing this level of intensity and charm to the role. He really just made me so disgusted the whole time. I wanted to go through the screen and just like shake him. Like I was so irritated the whole time. And I feel like this was just so effective. And there's so much like chase scenes in this movie. There's great fight scenes in this movie. Action-packed, love it. So much tension. Just watch it. It's such a great time. I guess, again, not too many people here, I guess, were talking about it because I just didn't hear about this movie at all. But I'm very happy it's on TUBI and you should be watching it. Okay, and now at number 1, my favorite of all of them. That is going to be I Saw the Devil. This is from 2010 and it is directed by Kim Ji-woon. Not for the faint of heart, this movie. This movie is very, very disturbing. This has been on my list for a while now, but I have been really trying to hold off because I did read some of the trigger warnings and I was like, I gotta hold off. You know, I really need to be prepared to watch certain things. Trigger warnings in this movie for a lot of things. You may want to do your own research because there is a lot of things that go on in this movie. But trigger warnings for SA. I Saw the Devil follows a dangerous psychopath who kills for pleasure. He has committed infernal serial murders in diabolical ways that one cannot even imagine, and his victims range from young women to even children. The police have chased him for a long time, but were unable to catch him. I am not going to read the rest of the synopsis because I personally feel like the synopsis gives a lot away. I think that you all should go as blind as possible into this one. It is very twisty. It's very crazy. It definitely is the most disturbing and the most crazy film on this list. But what makes the film worth it has to be the screenplay overall for me, I think is very well written. Our lead character that we're following that is seeking revenge, I think you immediately feel so much for him and you get attached to him. And this is another one of those that you just get so upset with with our villain. You're just so upset and you're just like ready. You're ready to fight. You're ready to go out swinging, you know? If you, of course, feel like you can get through some of the trigger warnings for the film, then I do think it's very worth watching. This one, again, if you really like intensity, if you like gore, if you like a really intense, really masterful fight choreography, you're definitely gonna love this movie. There are some fight scenes that I was obsessed with. Like, there is one fight scene in the apartment, like, hallway. Oh my God. Just like, I absolutely obsessed. I love great fight scenes. Love that. So masterful, so artsy. Love it, love it, love it. Our performances are amazing. Of course, we have a king here. We have Choi Min-sik, who is amazing. And if I just butchered his name, I'm very sorry. But he's amazing. He's amazing in Oldboy. And I have been really trying to watch more of his films because I think he's just such a powerful actor. I just love them. The two actors really were matching each other's energy. And you really need that in a film like this where the story is so complex and so gross and the screenplay is just so brilliant. So that is why that one is at my number 1 spot. I Saw the Devil. Make sure to check it out. All right, you guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps me a lot. And be sure to click that little notification bell to be up to date every single time I upload. And let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these films, if you just added them to your TUBI watch list. I love to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.